this is Manushka. Welcome to our Friends and Family YouTube channel. We're so excited that you have tuned in today. We believe here at VOUS that you never have to go at it alone. And so we've created content to help you along the journey. You're getting ready to hear one of our workshops from VOUSCon 2023. We believe that it's going to be a blessing to your life. Check it out.
We're talking about the power of planning, and so before we get into what we're going to say, I wanted to tailor it a little bit to who's in the room. So Greg is going to do a series of surveys to find out who we're talking to. We already found out the Miami thing and the first time, so maybe Greg, ask some stuff and
Just
we'll
wanted
find
to
out.
see who's in the room. How many of you are either a dedicated volunteer for a church or an on-staff person for a church? Anybody in the room? So about half the room. For any church.
Any church.
Any church.
Yep.
And how many are a part of like a corporate entity? You work, you plan, maybe you're an entrepreneur. Cool. There we go. I think that's actually more people. And how many of you work from home, work for yourself? Yeah, good. I don't have any more questions. How many of you like pizza? All right, cool. There we go.
Amazing. Cool.
So basically, obviously, everyday life, we have plans. And in the church world specifically, every week we're having church. And one of the funniest things that I remember from Guitar Hero was one of the loading screens. You remember? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And it said, when you're out of songs, don't ever just jam when you're at a concert.
I like that.
I remembered that for like 2 minutes ago. I was like, when you're out of songs, don't just try to jam. You're not going to captivate the audience, you know what I mean? And that reminds me, it's like, okay, we're going to do our plan, we're going to make the plan, we're going to execute the plan, and then we're going to get out of there. We're going to let people go to lunch on Sunday. And so at VOUS, we like to say that if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail.
Shout out to Benjamin Franklin.
Yes.
Yeah.
He says that?
Yes. That
So
came
we
from him.
say it.
FYI.
We say
says
that he said it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. And Greg and I have gotten to be part of the team here for a long time. Greg, you're 5 years in? 6 years in?
I don't know.
Oh, cool. I'm about 8 years in, I would estimate.
Yes. 6 years.
And so we've gotten to work together in different capacities and work on different projects over the years. And so we're just going to share some of what we learned. Greg actually started as our music director. So he and I got to work directly together for 6 months?
6 months.
And then I fired him.
I got fired.
And then we rehired him a month later. Very long story we can't get into now. Nothing bad happened. It's all good.
Yeah.
But no, he basically came back into our staff, into our film department, and now he runs that whole area. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the breakdown of our staff. But I wanted to speak to the culture of VOUS and how we think about planning. So for us, we're people who believe in excellence. One of our values as a church, our core values, is excellence is our spirit. We believe that excellence is not just like how you do one thing. Excellence is how you do everything. It's the spirit that I bring to everything that I do. So no matter how big or small the task feels or seems or appears, no matter how big or small the room or the meeting or whatever, we don't come to it with excellence because it's important enough. We are people of excellence. We carry a spirit of excellence. So anything I do, whether it's private and you're not going to see it, I want to do it well. If I'm creating, we're going to show you some sheets. I like to lay out my sheets in a way that is excellent and looks good. You may not prefer it, but it's detailed, it's specific. It's to meet its purpose and function, but it's also aesthetic and all of that. And so we want to be excellent in what we do, and we want to create good plans. We believe in being stewards of what God has given us. So when people are coming in on a Sunday, or people are coming in for VOUSCon or for VOUS Girl, whatever it is, they've taken their time out of their week, out of their work day, out of their weekend to come in, and they want to receive from God. And so we want to steward their time and what God's doing in their lives. And so as we go into a Sunday, we go in with a very detailed plan. But I say all of that to say we also believe in flexibility. So we believe in planning and we believe in flowing. And one of our staff values is remain flexible. Remain flexible. Pastor Rich was preaching it recently in a staff meeting, and our team created the slide wrong, and it said, remain yourself. And he was like, I don't know what remain yourself means, but remain flexible is our value. So there's this kind of natural tension between planning and spontaneity. I wrote an article a couple years ago on VOUS Friends and Family. By the way, if you're not part of our network, it's absolutely free of charge. We just ask for an email address, and we put out resources every week, every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. An email goes out with new resources from our team, design files, articles, videos, all kinds of things.
VOUSFNF.com.
Correct. FNF, the letter N. But that's something I get to be a part of, and I put out this article called Planning and Spontaneity in Worship, I believe it's called, about 3 years ago. But I believe that dichotomy exists in just all of life, and I think that people in your personality probably fall somewhere on that spectrum. We're the planners in the room. If you're here, maybe it's because you're good at it, and maybe it's because you're bad at it. We're the people who like to maybe just be a little more spontaneous in life. Okay, cool. Everything is just split down the middle here. But I think planning and spontaneity is a spectrum, and I think that people usually land more on one side than the other, so more comfortable with a plan and more comfortable with a schedule. I know what I'm going to do. I know what to expect. I know what the songs are. I know what the flow is, whatever it is. And some people are more comfortable being spontaneous and going, we're going to figure it out as we go. We're going to work it out. I don't want to think about it now. I'll think about it when we get there. I think there's a lot of value in both of these mindsets, and at VOUS, we don't really believe much in either or thinking. We believe in both and thinking. And so what I want, speaking, say, is my role in my role as a worship director, I want both in our team. I want the best of both worlds. I want the best planning and the best flowing that we can possibly have. I don't want to choose either or between those. I don't want to go, oh, we're a super planned, detailed church, but we can't do that flow stuff. And I don't want to go, you know what, we'll just figure it out when we arrive. I don't believe in either. I believe in both. And so what we do is we create a plan, and the plan sets us up to be ready to pivot if necessary. And that may be something went wrong, or it may just be, hey, I got a better idea. I had an idea, and here's what I say. If we run the plan, it's going to be great. Right. I want to create a plan that it's like, hey, if all else fails, by the way, if you're a preacher, same thing for me with preaching. I write my sermon word for word because I want to know, worst case, I get up and I feel nothing, and I've got nothing, and I'm stressed out or whatever, I didn't sleep. I've got a sermon. My sermon's there. I don't have to depend on, all right, I'll get worked up and the worship will be good. What if the worship's bad? You know, like worst case scenario, I get up and I'm going to read my sermon to you, and it's going to be clear and it's going to make sense. But the best case scenario is what I wrote down comes to life and God speaks in a different way, and things that I didn't expect happen. Doesn't mean that the unexpected is better, but it could be. And so I want to remain open to it. And the same is true for me in worship. Sometimes the best ideas come to me in the moment. So I like the plan that we had, but I have a different thing. I want to pursue this, and we'll see where we go.
You know what that reminds me of?
Yeah.
I think I joined VOUS during its second year, and Luke was one of the pioneers of VOUS, and he'd been the worship director pretty much the whole time. And I came in as the musical director, and it was really the first time that VOUS had ever had a musical director on staff. And at that point, VOUS didn't do anything on a Sunday that wasn't on the PCO. Anybody use PCO in the room? Like, they didn't do it. And so, you'd use PCO? Great.
One PCO
One
user.
PCO user.
We need a PCO sponsor.
Yes, we do.
To
maybe.
gain clientele. Planning Center Online.
Planning Center.
So we organize.
But that was it, like, most of the time. Planning Center. Sorry.
Yeah.
The app is called Services. Okay, sorry. Everybody uses Planning Center? Okay, great. Oh, my God. Sorry, we call it PCO.
Yeah, for sure.
You had a PDF, the PCO.
Correct.
Great. So when I came on staff, there was this, like, we really didn't have, the church was only like 2 or 3 years old. It was just barely a toddler. And so those moments of spontaneous worship would happen almost by accident sometimes. There was like the plan, and you get off stage. And I remember, what?
Yeah. It's not spontaneous. It's just us.
Yeah.
A train
jamming.
wreck.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember kind of like the tension of that when I came on under Luke. We kind of spent that whole first year, him as worship leader, me as musical director, every time we were serving, we got to know each other's chemistry. We got to know each other. We would execute plans, and then the next service, we'd talk about how to make the plan just a little bit better in between, and we'd make these little adjustments in between. We'd plan to be a little bit better next time. And I think that that ensues trust because you're going into something with a plan. And then you get to a place where Luke turns around and he looks at me, and he looks at me and we do something, or I make a call that's slightly different than what the plan was, but it felt good in the moment. But because we had executed the plan so many times together, and I say something that's different than the plan, but he trusts that I know how to drive. Does that make sense? Then he can go with me somewhere where we didn't actually originally plan to. Does that make sense? Yes. And I think from that we've learned a lot that we actually need to plan for those spontaneous moments.
Exactly.
We can't just rely on them happening all the time.
Right, and I think what's important is in planning and spontaneity, I think there's an order to it. That planning is what enables spontaneity. So it's not like either or, it's both of them, but I do think it starts with a plan. It starts with a vision. What do we want to accomplish in this service? Where do we want to go? I'm operating under authority, so I get parameters. Hey, we want 18 minutes of worship here. Cool, what can we accomplish in 18 minutes? That's creative space, you know? We can start here and end there. We can start somewhere else, and you can get a lot done in 18 minutes. And it can look completely different. We're seeing examples of it all day long here at VOUSCon. Doe comes up for 15 minutes, and a whole lot goes down. We had 4 songs planned, and she did 2. I was like, I'm smarter than this. Why do we plan for 4 songs for Doe in 15 minutes? Let's give her 1 song, and she'll figure it out from there. But all that to say, within the boundaries I've been given, what do I want to do? I get a vision for it. I create a plan. We agree to the plan. We can get into those specifics, but say for now, it's like on a Tuesday, I would send our worship plan to Pastor Rich with our programming director, Oliver, in a text, in a nice format, in a deck that looks good on your iPhone, and you can scroll through and see song leaders and songs across locations. We currently have 5 teams on a Sunday across our 3 locations. So, hey, AM, PM, there's a slightly different plan due to the vibe, the feel, the teams. Send that plan to him, and it'll be an approval. And so I get the plan approved, but then I also have been given authority to make adjustments, and then I may have to answer for those adjustments. Hey, what happened to the plan? Hey, either there was something intentional or something unintentional, there was a problem, or it was an idea I pursued. But of course, over the years, Greg was speaking to trust. Develop trust with someone, you understand how people think, and I can make better decisions that I know our pastor is going to understand and agree with. I'm not going out of left field doing some random thing we've never done before, we've never discussed before, but I can get a sense of where he'd like to go. So we believe in planning, we believe in being spontaneous, we believe in flowing. What we want to do is share with you some practical things, specific things. I know for me, I'm not sure with you, when I go to something like this, a breakout, a workshop, a behind-the-scenes kind of thing, I really love the nitty-gritty, like, details. My wife is in a workshop today, and she was saying, I was talking to her about what I was going to do. Last night at 1:15 in the morning, she was like, hey, can you help me write my workshop? I'm like,
got a plan.
She has 3 children, but we have 3 children. So she has an excuse for everything all the time. And I was like, can I just like, she said, can you write it out? I'm like, can I just voice memo it to you? So I'm like, all right, so I'm given like content for her workshop. Anyway, she's a super intense planner, actually. She just hasn't had time. People keep asking me, "Where are your kids doing well?" I was like, I trust they are. You know, they're somewhere with someone.
I held my 6-week-old daughter for the first time in 2 days this morning, and I bawled my freaking eyes out.
This guy's a new dad, 6-week-old baby Selah. Greg is a frustrated worship leader being forced to make videos. You can tell he named his daughter Selah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the most worship leadery name
exactly
for a daughter
She
I've ever
will
heard in my
change
life.
the world.
And Greg's wife, Carolina, is actually full-time on our staff in our worship department. We get to work together. She's on mat leave, as she calls it, maternity leave. She's coming back in 6 weeks. Praise God, because I'm drowning in her
You need her help.
work. All that to say, I want to talk a little bit. I love these terrible transitions. All that to say, what does that mean, you know?
Saying all of that,
All that being said,
therefore,
let's talk about our staff structure. I just wanted to give you an understanding of our team. We could do a whole nother workshop on team dynamics and trust between people. creating plans requires more than one person, and adjusting and changing requires more than one. I want to give some examples, including some VOUSCon stuff from as early as this afternoon, shortly. But just so you understand our staff structure, we kind of divide our organization. We've got about 45-ish staff members, I believe. It fluctuates. Greg goes off, Greg comes back.
Only been fired once.
Right, yes, so far. About 45 people, and we kind of divide it down the middle into what we call central ministries. I don't know what it means, but basically you've got small groups, you've got operations, parking, load in, load out, all of those kind of logistical and operational sides of church, pastoral care as well, missions, outreach, all that stuff under one kind of umbrella with an oversight. And then on the other side, we have what we call programming under Oliver Merriquin, who's amazing. He's leading the way this weekend. Programming would include worship, creative, film, environments. Oh, I think we have, perfect. And tech. Tech is a new department we're building out on the website and adding some new staff in there, data and reporting and stuff like that. But that's kind of the breakdown. So each one of these areas has a director. Each of those 6 directors report up to our programming director, who brings...
How many departments have you been the director of?
I was, at one time, before we made up the word, I was the programming director.
Okay.
And at the time, it was just a bunch of things.
Yeah.
All these things, but there weren't other directors. It
Yes.
was just me
Got you.
just juggling.
Luke does a lot. Can we give a hand for Luke Berry?
I did a lot, and now I do one thing.
Now you do one thing.
Yeah. No, so of course, when there are 3 staff, it's like you have 9 jobs, but also that job is very small. There's no way in the world I could actually run these things where they are today. But yeah, each one of these has a director. We have meetings where we talk and we plan. We have what we call a programming meeting on a Monday. We review the upcoming 2 weeks of plans. We really plan a month in advance in terms of our Sunday services. If we have something like VOUSCon, we're planning a year in advance, but really in the kind of 3-4 months leading up, getting more and more intense as we get closer to it in terms of our frequency of meeting, the duration of our meetings, the detail level of meetings as decisions are made. But we have a weekly programming meeting. We have a weekly directors meeting with our pastors. And so there are layers of meetings happening. But these people all work together to put together our plans for services and for events. Does that all make sense so far? So we come together to do it, and we use certain tools. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the tools we use for planning. First is Basecamp. Maybe you want to speak to it, Greg?
Yeah, sure. Basecamp is just a project managing software. It's not. There's a bunch of them out there. So whatever works for you, whatever's intuitive for you. But it pretty much brings memos, messages, to-do lists, calendar, all those things into one place. And so a lot of times we use this because everybody on staff uses Basecamp, but then they kind of run their to-dos out of their own Basecamp. You can schedule things by project. You can arrange things by group. So if you have, let's say you have, I help run the film team here, so you could have everybody in the film team in one Basecamp, give them access to just that Basecamp, and then you can just run down information to them, build to-do lists for them. You can post their references. You can give them their full project briefs, all of that kind of stuff. In the programming perspective, we use Basecamp a lot to just help us plan out our entire season. So for instance, an example would be, this is what like the beginning of a message board would look like in Basecamp. Our little worship coordinator and film coordinator, Julia, she posted all of Season 2's Sunday programming, and it started with April 9th, and it actually goes all the way through...
Easter Sunday, also my birthday.
Happy birthday, Luke.
It was a great birthday?
It was a great birthday.
It was wonderful.
But it goes through all 3 to 4 months that are in a season, and so it basically just a short list of the things that are going to happen that Sunday for every single person in the program department to be aware of. So for instance, on Easter, it's going to be a standalone talk. That means we're not in a collection or a series. There's going to be a special video. It's going to include a story and go into a song. There's going to be a big VOUSCon discount push we had put on that day. The I Love My City egg drop recap, B-roll, is going to happen during our generosity moment of service. The recap video will play from the day before during our worship intro video. And then we're going to highlight some of our Israel content in our culture room, which is our pre-service show. So basically, basically just a few bullet points of what's happening that Sunday. Now, me, when I look at this as the film director, I'm looking at special video, recap video, and the special video would include the song. So I already know that my department needs to collaborate with the worship department. So then we have our own side meeting, or we have our own set of to-dos. All right, he has to turn into me his song choice. I have to turn into him the video choice, the piece. I have to let him know, do I want his song to split my video in half? Right. Do I want my video to go straight into his song? How is that transition going to be musically?
Do you want the band to play live under the video?
Exactly.
The video is not tracked, it's a live tracking, or we providing the track to you, you're
right.
giving it to us.
And so those are all like convos to have. We have those in that programming meeting. And then we leave that meeting and we begin to assign tasks to one another. We put it all in Basecamp. And so in that Basecamp, we would have a to-do list that I'm tagged on for the things that I'm responsible for and a date that I'm responsible for it. I can't go into Sunday on Thursday afternoon for the very first time figuring out that he wants to sing Man of Sorrows. Like the video should have been done a week ago. Or, you know what I mean?
Very random choice.
Is it?
Thinking Easter?
Oh, yeah, because we're going through,
Easter 2015.
We sang it. No, we sang it. Oh, we sang Song of Suffering. It's the same song?
Certainly not.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
I'm trying to do an example.
Sorry.
Cool, it's fine. But it's just a project managing software, so that's a tool that we do. And we already talked about Planning Center Online, a.k.a. Services, a.k.a. PCO. But before you get to PCO, it can be kind of confusing. I was going to...
One thing just about that message board, what that helps us do,
Go ahead.
Greg was saying we plan in seasons. This is 4 months worth of Sundays. Yes. Okay, so that's 16 Sundays laid out by our programming director. He's collaborating with Pastor Rich. Some of it has just been generally, he's been given an overview of like, I want to do communion 4 times a year. I want to do baptism 4 times a year. And so he's just picking that stuff, just dropping it in. This is a good Sunday for baptism because it's between this and this. There's an opening. We might do baptism on the 5th Sunday of a month because there's no growth track and things like that. So we kind of understand the rhythm of the calendar. And then some things are specific. Pastor Rich goes, hey, I'm going to start a collection on the 2nd Sunday of June. It's going to run for 5 weeks. And he'll go, okay, cool, new collection coming here. That'd be a note for creative. If he has a title, cool, or title TBD, this is the general content. What he's doing is he's giving all of our departments a heads up on what's coming, and he's removing excuses, of course, but he's enabling us just to look ahead. And so go, hey, if we get to this week and we go, where's the video? And it's like, what video? It's like, dude, I posted this 3 months ago. I understand, there's a lot of stuff, but it's very clearly laid out. You can go back and review this, just writing it out. So helpful, bullet points of what we want to cover. So this is the kind of 30,000 level view of our programming and our planning is just Sundays for the next 16 weeks. And then as we get close to the new season, which we do kind of January to April, May to August, the month after August.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because you can already see right here that the week after Easter, we started a collection. That collection ran. We did another collection, and then that collection ended this past week, and here we are at VOUSCon. And so we knew, like he said, 3 months ago, what the collections were going to be, TBD title, and that really helps our creative department because, the hardest thing is to, I really want a promo for this collection. It's like, well, the collection's starting this Sunday. We can't really do it all. What's it about? I don't really know. But if you have team under you, it's hard to do it all yourself. That's not what we want to do. The farther out your plan is, the more people you can get involved in.
Right.
It's I don't have time to make a video.
You give servant leaders time.
Exactly.
When it's not crunch time.
When it's not
if
crunch
it's 2
time.
days from now, you got to do it yourself.
Right. I can't ask a volunteer to make me a video today to play tomorrow. It's not worth their time. They're getting off work. They got to go home. They have kids. But I say 6 weeks from now, we're starting a new collection. It's on the Holy Spirit. Get the communications team to write some copy. Here's the art direction. Give me a draft in 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Give me a third draft 4 weeks from now. And now you've duplicated yourself because you're letting more people in on the plan.
I love it. Also want to speak to if you're maybe in a setting or you have a boss who isn't the best with planning or looking ahead, I would encourage you to do this to the greatest extent you can. Okay, maybe I don't know what my pastor's preaching 4 months from now, but what do I know? What can I anticipate? You can think ahead in some ways. And so there have been times in the past when I didn't get something done because I didn't get the right information from someone else. That's possible. But there have been many, many times, I would say many, many more times, when I just didn't think ahead properly. I knew VOU Girl was coming up. It snuck up on me because I wasn't thinking about it. It's not someone else's job to remind me the information's out there. So whatever information you have, of course, there are different levels to it. I grew up, my parents are pastors. I grew up in a church where planning was not the strong suit, you know? And I was the planner in the group trying to change the culture. But our pastors both happen to be very, very excellent planners. Pastor Rich is great at thinking ahead specifically with his content on where he wants to go preaching-wise, and so that helps us so much to set us up. But even if you're not in that situation, I think that you can do your own due diligence to prepare and look ahead.
And as a specific example of maybe one of the next things that we do, we wanted to run through some of the worship documents that Luke uses before he actually gets to Planning Center. So maybe talk us through some of the documents that you use, and you can apply this to whatever your specific area or department is. So it's a specific example of a general concept.
Exactly. And I want to go really quickly because it's not important exactly how I do it. I just want to show you, for me, this is what helps me so much. So this first doc I want to show you, this is kind of the more micro view. This is a Sunday at VOU. And so what we've got is 5 teams. You see on the left is SOMI. You probably can't read all the details, but, oh, thank you, Greg. You got SOMI. Actually, go back. Then you've got Block A, Block B. Those are different teams. I'm going to stand up here. So you can't see it. This Sunday, we happen to have the same set list all day. Typically, this first song would change out, and we do something a little more up-tempo at night. We just decided, Pastor Rich was like, hey, I love Rest on Us. That's how I want to start all day because we're in our collection icon. We're talking about the Holy Spirit, and I love how that sets the tone for the service. So this is opening set, meaning at the beginning of the service. This is before the sermon. So dividing it up so our team knows how to prepare our track sessions. This is kind of the master doc for my staff. This gives us an overview of a Sunday. Team 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then Greg can show you just more zoomed in if you want to see it. So this shows me the Sunday. I have one sheet with 4 tabs, Sunday 1, Sunday 2, Sunday 3, Sunday 4 of June, right? But where it doesn't help me is I can't search within the tab across Sundays or across months. So I have another document, sorry if I'm standing in front of it. This is where I just plan sets for the whole year. What I like about this is I can go Command Find, and type in Not Ashamed, and it'll go 1, 2, 3. And I go, oh, I've sung this song 3 times this year, since January. I have a tab for 2023, tab for 2022, tab for 2021. Now, the next one is what I call our song list. I add a song to this list in the order that I introduce it. So I did Gone on the first Sunday of 2020. There we go. That's the first new song I introduced in 2020. And in order, we sang Refiner, and then we went into COVID, so we shouldn't have sung that song.
We never sung it ever
I want to
again.
be tried by fire, purified. We regret it. We've never sung it again. But what this does for me is it shows me when I go, listen, what's fresh right now in church? I can just go, okay, these are the past 10 new songs we've sung. And it just helps me keep tabs and keep track in my mind of what we're singing. And then it's got information on keys. So if I want to search key, Command Find key of D, I can go, oh, these are 10 songs in the key of D. Or 6/8. Hey, these are some 6/8 tracks across here. Or female-led or male-led or whatever it is. So these are my docs that I use. That took too long.
I like that. No, great job. This is just a zoom in of this year.
Coffee's kicking in, Greg.
It's kicking in. I love it. Give it up for Luke on that. That's nice. So that's kind of particular, specific for Sunday, specific for worship. You could tailor that to the kids department. You could tailor it to whatever department you're part of. The last thing we kind of wanted to talk about as far as documents that we prepare before we do something is what's called a deck. And it's honestly just a word that we use for our Google slide presentation, really. We're just kind of preparing a deck. It's a nice way to present content, ideas, references, the plan, everything linked to one document so that multiple departments, everybody that's helping you out, the staff over you, the staff under you, we want to report up, we want to report down, we want to make sure everybody's on the same page. You don't know how many times when somebody asks me a question about a project that I go, it's on the deck. Look at the deck. It's on the deck.
This is our VOU Worship 2023 album deck. I believe we ended up at 400 slides.
I didn't count.
I think it was right around there. So I would get a message and say, hey, look at slide 223 for the information. I'm like,
and then
this
somebody
is out
adds,
of control.
Somebody adds a new slide, and then it's a different number.
Because Oliver's like, hey, I want every single thing on that deck,
Yeah.
you know? It's great.
Exactly. But it becomes an easy way to present in a meeting your updates. So for instance, if you've got 5 departments presenting updates in a meeting for a particular event, everybody's on the same deck. So you don't have to, everybody just pull up the deck and then somebody goes through their slides and you go through one by one. So for instance, this past, was it May? We did the album?
It was April.
It
So
was before
April 9th was Easter Sunday.
Yes.
We recorded our album on Wednesday, April 12th. Load-in started at 7:30 a.m. on Monday, and we had 11 services on Sunday, and it was my birthday.
It was great.
It was the greatest album
It was,
ever.
It's the greatest album
I'm
ever.
kidding. It'll come out at some point in the future.
Yeah, so in the deck, there's a lot of things to go through, but basically any piece of information that could help everybody that's on that project understand the goal, the concept of it. So for instance, like the first slide was basically, what are we doing? All right, so the live recording, where is it going to happen? It's going to happen at our SOMI auditorium. These are the dates that it's happening. And then this is a brief description of what it is. The week after Easter, we will flip the SOMI auditorium to prep for our live album recording. And then it goes through and kind of stuff like that. So just some of the stuff we had on there. For instance, just like, what are we doing? Here's the shoot details. The album will be 7 songs, but we're actually going to record 7 live songs. Okay? The shoot date is going to be April 12th. The release date was that didn't happen. Anyway, but we planned for it, but we pivoted.
Yes, we did.
And
Spontaneity.
there's the location. So some of the things you might see on the deck, for instance, for me, is collaborating. Sorry, I heard a noise. Did you hear that? Collaborating with worship on songs and looks, and collaborating with design on references and things. So for instance, there'd be slides where Luke is listing out every worship song that we're going to be recording. He's going to have lyrics on there. He's going to have the song leaders on there. Then I'm going to take those same song names, and my slides are going to be co-opted with the design team with their references. And then we're even like plotting out like choir plots. For instance, the song "Perfect Peace," which we sang, I believe, yesterday, we recorded. And the key words for this song on a design standpoint would be airy, garden, safety, comfort, strength, slow motion. The hues we want to use for visuals are going to be green. The formations we want to use for choir, we want it to feel like everyone is spread out, like we're in an open field. The LED visuals are going to be field and grass. So you've got these green color tones. You've got this, you can't really tell, it's somebody walking on like a mosh, kind of a garden, somebody laying in the middle of a field. So then you have your choir plot here. You've got 2 vocalists in the middle of this big LED stage that's going to have grass on it, right? So instead of having 12 vocalists for this song, there's only going to be 2. But then all of the choir, which are these blue dots, are going to be spread out instead of in a huge bunch. They're going to be in these lines. And so that's kind of the art direction for that specific song, and everybody knows exactly what everyone's doing.
And talking about pivoting, so this is our plan. So the team works. They create visuals. They create a plot. When we get in the room on Wednesday night, we lay everyone out. We look at it, and we go, we don't like this. So Pastor Rich goes, I don't like the green, let's make it blue. And they go, okay, cool, we're going to go work on something blue. And then he goes, that tree over there, can you put that on the stage? And then we go, all right, cool. So we pick up the 500-pound tree.
No, can we tell this story? It's a good story.
Sure.
Pastor Rich goes, we had you know those tall trees that are behind the drum set? We had those inside of our location. And Pastor Rich is like, you think we could put the tree on the stage? And everyone's like, I don't know. Someone goes, nah, that tree weighs 500 pounds. And I go to Luke, I said, there's no way that tree weighs 500 pounds. I'm going to go pick that tree up.
I'm going to go find out.
I'm going to go find out. I grabbed one of my camera operators who lifts, and I was like, come here, grab this tree with me. We picked it up, put it on the LED stage, and I look at everyone, I go, not 500 pounds.
And then what happened? Pastor Rich goes, yeah, I don't like it. Put it back.
Put it back.
Pastor Rich is very kind and wonderful. He's not talking
You're on
like
thin
that.
ice right now. I'm kidding.
No, but all that to say, the color changed, the choir plot changed.
Yeah.
We know that it's not going to be exactly this, but this is the vision. This is to help give a visual for everybody. So our choir, hey, here are your plots. Here's what to expect, what to look ahead to. And when we get in the room, we're going to see how we feel, and we're going to adjust anything that could be better. Another fun thing for the album night was coming in with song arrangements, and we have limited time, and we have people that are paid, and we have a loadout that went till 3 or 4 in the morning, getting out of there. And so we ran a song, and when the song ended, Pastor Reese came over to me, and he's like, hey, he and Pastor DC were really sick, and so they missed Monday, Tuesday, which was load-in and rehearsal. And so Wednesday he came in, and he's kind of disoriented because he hadn't seen everything, and he heard the song, and he came over, he's like, hey, I don't like how this song is. I'm like, okay, so what don't you like about it? You know? And he's like, what do you want more of? What do you want less of? I want more space before the bridge. Cool. Well, add an instrumental before the bridge. And I want you to start down and do one more bridge and build up. Okay, perfect. And so we're like, all right, team, this is what we're going to do. We adjust the tracks. We talk to the camera ops. We run it again. And that's the arrangement that's going to be on the album. So rather than going, whoa, we've been working for however long on this, and you don't know anything about music and blah, blah, blah. It's just going, dude, we're flexible. Let's make it the best it can possibly be. I heard it this way. I liked it this way. I want to hear what you're thinking. Let's try it out. Worst case, we do the other thing, you know? So I think that spirit is very important for our team, and ultimately, everything gets better when people have that attitude. And at VOUS, if you don't have that attitude, you just stick out a whole lot, because it's like, dude, we're doing this together. We're collaborative. We're flexible. We're ready to go.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Just another example, Take Me With You, song we've been singing a lot. You can tell this is the specific art direction for this song because you've seen it on the LED visual for Con. It just remained. Another thing that could be on a deck would be like a camera plot. So the same exact kind of reference, but here's where the instruments would be. So now here's where our cameras were going to be. Just updating information, planning, and then we get there, and I really didn't like this top camera with the 8. That said it was supposed to be a 16 to 35 millimeter lens. He was on a second level. He was 10 feet in the air, shooting down at people. But what you don't know is that all of this area here is no man's land for filming because it's got the confidence monitor, it's got people, and so this wide angle lens was capturing all of that. So on the day, we said, hey, we got to switch this to like an 85, and instead of filming the whole scene, he needs to shoot left and right and capture a little bit of a tighter angle. So we had a plot, we knew he was going to be, but then we changed a micro detail, if that makes sense.
Awesome.
And then eventually, you just because we started with kind of a preliminary plan, eventually those plots those 2D plots can become a 3D plot, something like this, where a team can actually sit down and take the 2D plot, make it 3D dimensional. Yeah, go ahead.
It's called SketchUp. It's where you
It's a web app
generate those.
Website called SketchUp, and I think it's got a subscription you could do, but basically it's got true to scale 3D modeling.
Yep.
So, and it's got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of actual real-life elements that you can put in a 3D space.
Right.
That way you can tell your architects or the people coming in, the people building sets and things, exactly how big things are going to be.
Including these creepy iRobot mannequins.
Yeah. Yes.
They
are very creepy.
Yeah.
But like Luke said, planning is important, but our staff value, remain flexible. Proverbs 16:9, the heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Every Sunday, we have this thing called Platform Huddle. And even though we've read the plan on Monday, we've edited the plan on Tuesday, we've reviewed the plan on Wednesday, we've sent out text messages to team about the plan on Thursday. On Saturday night, we send our encouraging texts back to our team to remind them of their call time and to reemphasize reviewing the plan. Sunday morning, before we go on stage, we have a platform huddle, and what do we do before we pray? We read through the plan again. But then what do? We offer the plan up as a living sacrifice in prayer, and we say, God, we've done the plan, but we want you to move. We want your Holy Spirit to come through. If you want to take us somewhere new, somewhere different, we've done everything we can to be good at our craft. We've done everything we can to involve as many people as possible to produce something excellent for you and for people to encounter you. But if you want to go somewhere, we're ready to go with you. And I think that value of remaining flexible is really what keeps us all unified.
It's so good. I absolutely agree. I think it's so critical. We create a plan so that God can move, not so we can do our plan. We're not married to it. And I'll tell you, because if you want to be as detailed as we're describing, I have to reiterate it and say it to our teams again and again and again and again, because people fall in love with the plan. People go, I was supposed to sing that song at that time, or I'm supposed to do this thing or whatever. And it's going, dude, this is the plan. Let's just remember, we're going to flow. We're going to be flexible. Who knows what's going to happen?
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that workshop. If you'd like to discover more content like this, check out the VOUS Friends and Family Network, created to equip you with free resources and real relationships. And hey, don't miss out on the opportunity to be in the room next year for VOUSCon 2024, a gathering of global leaders designed to strengthen your faith and connect you to community.